Hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of OPG Pursuit Podcast. This is Chelsea, and I'm the admin assistant for the Fishers branch of Opportunities for Positive Growth. The purpose of this podcast is to give you, the listener, insight into OPG culture. Each episode, we are going to showcase a member of our OPG family and learn a little bit more about them. So I like to have people introduce themselves, so please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Sean Power. I'm the Employment Services Team Lead for the Department of Therapies and Advancement.
What do you do for OPG? Just describe your job a little further.
So my role with OPG, as I said, is the Employment Services Team Lead. So I supervise our team of employment specialists, provide trainings and help them with continued growth. And then I also support about half the amount of people that the employment specialists support. So I have days where I'm out there assisting people on the job and or helping them find jobs.
That's awesome too, because you're actually working one-on-one with people, so you know how to properly direct your employees that you're the direct supervisor of.
Right, yeah, absolutely. It still gives me that insight of those in-the-moment barriers that, everybody deals with in the day-to-day, and, I still feel like, I'm out there doing the work that the rest of the team is doing.
Mm-hmm. So why should someone choose OPG for their employment services?
The goal for us in employment, obviously, is to always, help someone find employment. But one of the things that I always tell people is, especially, new people that we're looking to support, we can help anyone find a job, right? There are a ton of jobs out there right now. We can help anyone find a job. But we want to help people find the job, the job that provides meaning for them and the job that, makes them want to get up in the morning and gives them that fulfillment. We go through a whole process of basically adding or eliminating types of jobs and job environments, job roles, job duties, job responsibilities to really zone in on what that main job goal is for each person that we support. And so, our goal is to help people find the job that they want, not just any typical job that they could get.
Cool. So walk us through that a little bit more. What are the first steps that we take in finding a job for somebody?
So the first thing that we do when we start supporting someone is we have what we call an initial meeting with them, and that's where we sit down with them and we really get to know them. The unique thing about that is we invite people to bring any person in their life that they feel provides value to that meeting, help us get to know and understand them more. So in that meeting, we talk about job experience, volunteer experience. We talk about, what your dream job is. We talk about, what they like to do in their spare time, their personal time, family, anything that we can do to gain knowledge about that person to really build this picture of what employment looks like for them. We do that. And, one of the other important things that we do is we always ask people, what job do you absolutely not want to do? Because we don't want people doing jobs that aren't going to make them happy. So that's one of the first things we do. And then after that, we really start to dig in and work with that person in the community and do, informational interviews with potential employers. We do situational assessments, which is where someone goes in and actually tries a job to make sure it's a fit, which is really unique because not only does it give the person the idea of the type of work environment they're going to be in, but it gives a manager or an employer an opportunity to see this person work without even hiring them. It gives them an idea of what kind of an employee they are. We may also do job shadows, and then there's aspects of it where we're building resumes and application skills and confidence skills so that people can walk into interviews with their best foot forward and really feel like they have a grasp on what they should be doing.
So how does OPG typically find these jobs for them? Like, do we have a set list of places that we typically will try and set people up with, or do we go outside of the box for people?
We never have a set list. And our reason for that is because, someone may walk in tomorrow and want a job that we've never found anyone that type of job. And so a lot of what we do is networking. Part of the time, all of us as employment specialists will go out and network with different employers and show them, how we do what we do, and walk them through the steps and gauge their interest level. We've always been in the circumstance of networking for the people we're supporting, and a lot of times we'll take those people out with us and have them meet the employer the first time that we're meeting the employer. That's one of the ways that we do it. We also go to job fairs, transition fairs, network with a lot of different types of employers. We're always exchanging business cards. We've done a lot of word of mouth though too, where people will call and say, hey, I could use some employees. I'm really, really low staffed right now. So there's, many ways. We do keep a running list in our heads of places we've worked with that may be a good fit for the people we're supporting, but it's really based on what that person wants to do.
What are some of the set fears that you've noticed employers have about employing people with disabilities?
What's really funny about the set fears is typically the set fears that people have are the exact opposite of what the truth is. They'll never come to work, or they'll never be here on time, or I won't be able to train them the way I want to be able to train them. And honestly, that's not true. There are a ton of statistics that I could pull up and show you that say, employees with a disability are way more likely to show up for work on a regular basis and only have to be trained once to do their job. So it's trying to change that mindset of the employer. Those are the typical things, though. It's usually attendance related or training related. On the training aspect, what's awesome about that is that we're able to jump in and say, hey, we'll help you provide that training. That's our role. That's our duty as an employment specialist, is to help with that training aspect.
Yeah, and what does the job market typically look like for people with disabilities? How easy is it for them to get jobs?
So right now, the job market's probably better than it's been, I'd say, in the last 5 to 10 years. With the labor rate the way that it is and the unemployment rate the way that it is, employers are much more likely to want to hire someone right now because they can't fill their positions anyways. So they're more open right now. So that's really good for us because we can spread that open atmosphere, as people are willing to listen. When the unemployment rate is much higher and there's a wider selection of employees, it's not easy to always get that ear for somebody to listen to you. So right now it's not bad. The unemployment rate for people with disabilities is still pretty high. Nationally, the rate of people with disabilities currently working, it generally seems to hover around 20%. And
the people that are working.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you compare that to 80% of people without disabilities that are working. Right. And the unemployment rate for people with disabilities is 7.7% right now. So that's still a pretty high level when you consider, we hear constantly right now that the unemployment rate's lower than it has ever been. That's not necessarily true for us and what we do, so we're constantly trying to push our number lower.
How many people would you say are people that we serve right now that are seeking jobs? So how many people do we typically take in, and how many people are currently employed because of us?
So employment services through OPG really works two different ways, and I think there is a little bit of misconception out there about how employment works. So the first thing that I think everybody should know is that employment services, finding a job, is not associated with the Medicaid waiver. That's funded completely different through vocational rehabilitation services through the state of Indiana, and it's free. There's no charge for someone to go and use that service. So right now, we are currently assisting 41 people to find employment, and then we are working with 38 people on maintaining the employment they already have. So that 38 is people that could still be in VR or and already have a job, or it could be some people that are using the Medicaid waiver for what's called extended services, which is a longer term employment specialist providing service.
Yeah, so the services that the employment specialist does provide, what does that look like? A typical day of an employment specialist working alongside or with a person that they support?
Yeah, a typical day can honestly be just about anything. We can really say that no day is the same. You may have one day where you're spending 4 hours with someone on one of those situational assessments where they're trying a job to make sure they like it. You could have 2 initial interviews around that, and then you may be going to visit someone on their job who's had their job for 3 or 4 years, and you're just making sure that everything's okay, helping them with any new responsibilities or duties that they need to learn, or, then working with them to achieve whatever goals they've set for themselves when it comes to employment. So every day can really look different.
What are some resources that people with disabilities can use to find a job?
So the biggest resource I'm always going to say is Voc Rehab. Get in touch with VR.
Can you do that online, or do you have to mail in?
Typically, you call and set up an appointment with the local VR office in your county. And if people need that number, they can always reach out to us, and we can get them that number. The information can be found online. There's a map you can pull up that associates every county with a number. Marion County is a little different. It has a few offices that people would need to call. But VR is the biggest aspect because that's where you're going to get that assistance through an employment specialist to really help you find employment. If someone doesn't want to utilize VR, I would encourage them to job search the way anyone else does. Don't be afraid to get on Indeed or Indiana Career Connect and these job searching websites, because that's how everyone finds a job.
Yeah, and a lot of them will have at the very bottom that they don't discriminate against any disabilities. So that's a good thing to look for, even though, is it illegal to discriminate against disabilities?
It is. And, that's always a difficult conversation for us. Employers now typically do not. I won't say there's not the, rare circumstance that we're put in where somebody really says something to one of us that they shouldn't in regards to who and how they employ people. We tend to view that as that situation wouldn't have worked out anyways. So, it's one of those blessing in disguise situations. But no, you cannot, hire people based on their disability. You can hire someone based on their skill set. And so if a skill set doesn't match up, and that's the reason, we can work with that. But we can also work to job carve some skills and some responsibilities so that maybe it will still work. So that's another thing that we work with on employers to talk about. Maybe there are some things that wouldn't exactly be a fit, but maybe we can combine some other responsibilities to make this work.
So what are some of the main obstacles that you find when you are trying to find a job for a person with a disability? Like education, is that typically an obstacle, or?
The biggest obstacle, especially in the Fishers area, is transportation.
Yeah.
There's no solid form of transportation to get people to and from a job, especially if they live in Hamilton County but they work in Marion County. Hamilton County Express is a tool that people use. However, if you work past a certain time,
it's limited.
You can't get home from work. And it's the same thing up in Kokomo. We do have it's called Spirit of Kokomo, and then we also have a trolley system. But both of those only run, like 12 hours a day. And so once that service is done, then people don't have a reliable way to get home. And, we try to build those natural supports in at work. So maybe every once in a while a coworker can help somebody out. But transportation is the biggest issue right now when it comes to employment. We're always going to have barriers of training in the workplace and figuring out how to train someone properly, but that's our job and that's what we figure out how to do. But when it comes to a barrier that, we just meet it every time and we can't figure out a real way to get over it, it's transportation.
Yeah, that's one that I've heard too in a lot of my POM interviews, especially just getting out in the community. I think if anybody has an idea of the best way to work around transportation, reach out to us. Cause
open up your own transportation company. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be cool if there was like a carpool service or something.
Absolutely.
That's not Uber or Lyft where you have to pay every single time you need to go to work.
Yeah.
What about giving me 1 or 2 examples of people we support who have found their dream jobs through OPG services or are currently finding their dream jobs?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I could go on about for hours because we've helped so many people that the story has just been amazing. Um, you know, some of my favorite stories though revolve around the people that we've supported that have come in with non-traditional job requests. I think back to when I first started, and Gail and I had the conversation of how employment was going to work, and it's now like ingrained in my head that we don't want people to just get jobs in food and filth, and that's for so long that's what
or warehouses where
right.
it's a
That's
secure
what it was.
environment.
It was working somewhere doing food service at McDonald's or being a janitor somewhere.
Or getting paid literally dimes and pennies for hours of work.
Yeah, in those sheltered workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And so recently we had someone that we met with that it stopped the employment specialist in their tracks, and it stopped me in mine because I'm thinking, we've never had this type of job request before, where we're trying to help someone find this job. She wanted a job doing social media marketing. And, it was a head scratcher, because we don't find those jobs typically. And
we're in Indiana. I know we have Salesforce. That's like the biggest
right.
marketing place that we have right now. But
right.
Yeah.
And so, we have the Fishers Disability and Community Council, and I'm fairly positive that's where we linked up with Blast Media, and which they do all that, that social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. And one of our employment specialists, Stephanie, met up with somebody from Blast, and they were just on board. They couldn't wait. We couldn't get that person in there quick enough, and it's been a match made in heaven. Just that's what she wanted to do, and she's phenomenal at it. Just she does a great job. They love her. It's a match made in heaven. So that was really neat. Finding those types of jobs. Another person that we support, and you'll be pretty aware with her because you share her story a lot on Facebook because she's so popular. But we have a young lady that we support. We found her a job working at a retail setting, which is what she wanted. She also has these big aspirations of being an artist, and she's a pretty phenomenal artist. Mm-hmm. And just seeing her growth since I started working with her. She was actually one of the first people we supported in employment. I worked with her down here in Fishers. And we got her this job at this retail setting, but she has grown so much in her artistry. And she recently attended the Stakeholders Day meeting with me at Conner Prairie, and she was prepared there. She was handing out her own business cards, like, check out my Instagram page. If you need some artwork, let me know. I think even Andrea, our CEO, is going to, commission some artwork with her. And that's just, it's really cool to see how much her confidence in herself has grown, that she just feels comfortable doing that. Mm-hmm. And so...
And she's more of an entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
She's become very comfortable in herself.
Absolutely.
And her abilities.
And her abilities are off the charts. Like, I cannot...
Her art is awesome, too.
Yeah.
So... Yeah.
She's pretty great. And she always has exhibits. Mm-hmm. Always has exhibits.
She's always coming in, giving me a flyer to hand out to everybody that I see. So
yeah, she's just the greatest. She's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely a skill that I wish I had, was networking, and I think she really excels at networking.
Yeah, she's doing phenomenal. She's not afraid, to just, hey, here's me, and check out what I do, and it's really great.
And she has a very distinct style too of art, which is great that she's honed that.
Absolutely.
For herself, and is really finding her audience.
What's really cool is to just sit down and spend 15 minutes with her, talking to her about her artwork, and she can talk to you about how she starts it and how she does it and how she goes through it and finishes it. And I'm just sitting over here like, I can't do any of it. I don't have an inch of the skill set that you have when it comes to that. So it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a gift for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, Sean, what do you love most about your job?
For me, it's the people. And it's the people we support, it's the people I work with, it's the people, employers we network with in the communities. It's just, being around people. I'm a people person. I like to talk, and I like to be with people. And so, getting to meet new and different people people, that's always exciting to me. When it comes to the job, though, as an employment specialist, I think everyone on the team would agree that there's this real natural feeling of accomplishment that you've really helped someone when they get a job, and you just can't beat that feeling. It's really empowering. You feel like you've helped someone accomplish something phenomenal, and you just can't beat that feeling. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I feel like some people at OPG, they don't see directly how they are impacting a person's life and how that person is impacting their life. So that's really special that you and the other employment specialists get to experience that firsthand. And I'm sure you talk with a bunch of employers that just beam with the capabilities of the people that we support and give to them.
I mean, I would say another, like favorite thing for me is when we have an employer that was maybe reserved or, didn't know how things were going to work out, but they took that leap of faith anyways. And then the next time they need employees, they reach out to us and like, do you have anyone that can help us? Because we need help. So that's always really great too, is to have those circumstances.
So one thing we do here at OPG, which you are very aware of, is talking about dreams.
Yeah,
so
always talking about dreams.
Always talking about
My
dreams.
favorite thing about the dreams is I always know it's coming.
So
but I don't ever know what to say. Like I was thinking my whole drive here, like, what's my dream going to be? But I still, I'll come up with something.
And have you?
Yeah.
Okay,
so my dream right now is we just bought a puppy. And my dream right now is to get him potty trained. Because
how old is the puppy?
Me a little nuts. He's 11 weeks. Yeah. So.
I remember that because you have to have them on a schedule.
Yes.
So one of you or both of you have to figure out when you can be home to let the dog out and
I can tell you this.
Trained in that.
I don't enjoy being the 5 a.m. person. It's not my favorite responsibility, but I do it when I have to.
Ben is dealing with that right now too. He and Carolyn just got a puppy. So yeah, I don't miss that. We have a 2-year-old dog and he's fully trained now.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
So he does have to be crated because every now and then he's a bad boy and he likes to destroy things when he's outside of his crate. So
they do that. They do that for sure.
Yeah, what's your dog's name?
Murphy.
That's cute.
Yeah, he is a little cutie.
What was your first job?
My first job, I was a busboy in Kokomo at Grindstone Charlie's.
How was that?
Not fun. Not fun. There was a lot of restaurants have gone to now. They don't allow the bussers or people that clean off tables to carry the buckets anymore. That you could easily put the dishes in. We had them, but we weren't allowed to use them even back then.
It's probably a sanitation thing now.
Yeah. And so we always carried a little tray, but whenever we had big parties, we had these giant oval trays that we were supposed to put all the glasses on that we could carry, and I never did it because I knew I would just drop it. So that wasn't my favorite job, but it was a good learning experience. Set me up for knowing what I don't want to do in the future.
Oh yeah, you learn a little bit of everything in different jobs you do. Some of them push you to outside of your boundaries. Some of them you probably never saw yourself doing. Did you ever see yourself being the leader of an employment specialist team?
I've always had a heart for working with people. So when this is where my path led me, did it surprise me? No. And if you would have asked me in high school if this is what I thought I would be doing, I probably still would have said no. But I've had a lot of great experience employment-wise that I feel like led me, to this position, and I love it. It's rewarding every day, to see the effects that we have on people and the positive nature.
What's one skill that you would like to master?
Any skill?
Any skill. Even one that you're like, I've never thought of doing that.
I would really like to be a much better golfer.
Do you do Top Golf?
No, we
You
keep
do
planning.
legit golf.
Yes, we keep planning to go to Top Golf, and then we never make it. Another skill, like a really weird skill that I want to get down, is there's all these axe throwing places popping up.
I've done it,
and I'm like, I want to be an axe thrower. Like, how cool would that be?
It is pretty cool. I was not good at it at all. There's one downtown called Bad Axe Throwing, and I think there's other locations that they do it. But I mean, there's a guy that like shows you how to do it, or a girl that shows you how to throw the axe. And I mean, there's a whole skill to it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they come out with like a giant axe near the end, and you're like, okay, you have to step back about 100 yards to throw this thing.
Oh wow!
Just because it's so giant.
Like Paul Bunyan's axe.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen like videos of people throwing the axes online, and it like bounces back at them,
right?
And they just like narrowly duck it.
Hopefully, they're pretty dull.
Yeah, for the most part, I think they're pretty dull. I don't know if they could actually kill you. They might knock you out.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good skill to. You got to grow a little bit more of a beard. Though.
Yeah, I'd have to fill that in.
Yeah.
A little bit, but when we get there.
What's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you?
Work-wise, it was, I was leaving a team meeting one time, and it was when Leslie Newland told me that OPG was looking to start employment, and then having that meeting with Dan and Gail to really, have things take off, and it's just gone from there. Personally, I'll probably always say meeting my wife was, the luckiest thing that ever happened to me.
Was it a chance meeting or?
Yeah, you could say that. I was working for a different provider at the time, and for a residential setting, and part of my responsibilities was to take the people that I supported to Special Olympics bowling, and she was there. She actually happened to coach a Special Olympics cheerleading team, and so that's how we met.
Rest is history.
Right, the rest is history. So, and we're still involved with Special Olympics to this day. We do a lot. So,
when you're 80, what will matter most to you in the world?
That my kids have had a successful life, or that we've set them up on the right path. That's the most important thing to me. I'm big about family, so setting them up for the best future possible is what means the most to me.
Well, and if they're living successfully, then they'll be able to take care of you when you're 80.
Correct. Yeah. Put me in a nice retirement home. That's right. Something with a golf
or
course
no
right
retirement.
outside.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or no retirement home. Just like come to your house and take care of you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be nice if you had a little golf course like in Florida or something.
Heck
just hitting some balls.
Yeah.
Sipping whatever you're sipping at that point, some prune juice, a little
probably,
vodka.
Probably. Yes. Yeah. No, that would be the life.
Well, cool. I just have one more question for you.
All right.
What do you love about yourself? This one usually gives people pause.
Yeah. Like, these are those questions where you're like, oh, I should know this. I say I try to be pretty open-minded, and I love that I've learned to do that about myself. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I worked in the Department of Corrections, working with juveniles that have been in the system, and you really had to open your heart and your eyes to a lot of things that you wouldn't think. I worked in Logansport, and when you take the job on, you're like, oh, I'm just going to be working with these kids from around this area. And then you get there, and they're from every area of the state that you can imagine. And it's probably the most eye-opening experience through employment that I've ever had, meeting some of these kids that were from just terrible situations and being able to work with and help them. And I think it's one of the things that really set me up for this job. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of, that I can try to relate to anyone and try to keep an open heart and an open mind about what people have going on, because there's really not enough of that in the world.
Oh, for sure.
So, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. that's good to be self-aware too of what you're good at and what you can offer to other people.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, thanks, Sean. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much
Thanks for having
doing this. Yeah. It's just a way to get people to understand a little bit more about us as a company, as a culture, and the great human beings that work here.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone, please reach out to us. If you need supports, we are operational now in Hamilton, Marion, Hendricks counties, and also Howard County. Up in that Kokomo area. So if you are someone, or someone, have a family member or friend that needs that kind of support, reach out to us, and